Virtual Radio Week. Total Remote. Best practices for operating a radio or podcast remotely. A week dedicated to total remote radio.
Hello to everyone. We are live on, a lot of platforms, ConnectOnAir.com. We are also live on all the Facebook pages. And, sorry, there's a sound coming back. Yeah, it's just my phone that just started, so I just quit that soon. Sorry about that. Yeah, here now we're off. So we're on Twitter. That's what I was taking care of. We're with Nicolas Moulard, and we have a very nice program coming now, because we're going to be together with Finland and with Russia, and then right after that also with the United States. So it's really international evening, afternoon today. But before we go live with our guests, maybe we'll talk a little about what's going to happen, Nicolas, tomorrow, because we have a big day tomorrow with remote broadcasting. Today we're going to talk about programming, but tomorrow will be broadcasting. And just so that people know how the platform is working, you can go into the agenda of our website, the virtualradioweek.com, and you can go in the agenda and you can check out all the replays of the days that have passed on Monday and Tuesday, and you can access to all the guests that we had during those 2 days. You will find the replays of the videos. You will also find some webinars that we've done in English. In the morning it's always in French, and in the afternoon, starting at 2, it's in English. So please don't hesitate to go back to Monday and Tuesday and to see. We talked about home studio. We talked about remote contribution yesterday. Very interesting things about remote contribution yesterday. And we're going to also have 5 advice from someone today, which also is very interesting, and we'll hear about that. Nicolas, can you just tell us a little about today and tomorrow program?
Yeah, the advices you mentioned are from José Loureiro from the Radio Renascença in Portugal. I saw them, I must admit, and I think they would be very interesting. So in a few moments, we will listen to them. In the meantime, let's say we've discussed about home studio yesterday, remote contribution yesterday, sorry. We are now in the area of remote programming, and we'll have interesting testimonies on that topic just now. And tomorrow we will talk about remote broadcasting. And the topic is to know a little bit better how to ensure the quality and the continuity of radio broadcast from a distance. In the morning, that will be in French with TDF, with people from technical director of Hit Radio in Morocco, with a company called Digris from Switzerland. But in the afternoon, we'll have the pleasure to welcome Nigel Fry. Nigel is the head of distribution at the BBC World Service, so with activities all over the world, and of course directly impacted by the confinement in many of those countries. Interesting testimony. Together with Eugenio Lateana, possibly you know, is the guy behind innovation at RTL 102.5 in Italy, and we'll have also advice from the US from Gary Klein. Gary Klein used to be the director of engineering of this big group, US group Cumulus, is now consultant, and he prepared for us 5 advice regarding the critical points to secure to maintain quality in FM during confinement, or especially from remote.
And then we'll have some webinars with the Worldcast in English as well, regarding catering to the needs of the radio industry. 3 new solutions bring quality control and cost savings to remote operation with Christophe Poulain, Kevin Campbell, and Gregory Mercier. And then some information about the World DAB with Patrick Hannon in the afternoon. And we'll also have he will be with us a little later. We'll have the video also of the Omnia audio processing tour with Paul Kruger that will be with us. Hello, Paul. I was talking about you when you just appeared. So we'll be talking together a little later, and then we'll finish the day tomorrow at 4 p.m. 4 p.m. with all the professionals. Maybe know about them. On Hertz, it's a Belgium company. They're making a webinar on Team Viewer is not enough. 3 steps towards agile broadcast workflows. So very interesting webinars, and you can register and find all the links on the agenda. But let's go to our day. You don't see them, but we can maybe show them. I'll ask François if he can show all the 4 people that are with us, because we are really international today. And we'll start with Stefan Müller, and Nicolas will head with Stefan Müller. But I want just everyone to say hello to everyone. So we put all your 4. So we start with Stefan. Hello, Stefan. You're in Finland. Hello. Hello to Roman. Roman, you're in Russia, in Moscow. Hello. And then Paul Kruger in the States. Thank you, Paul, for joining us.
No, thank you.
So Nicolas, if you want to start with Stefan Müller. Stefan Müller is in charge of the AER and working in the radio industry in Finland.
Yeah, correct. So thank you for accepting this invitation, Stefan. For us, it was very interesting to get this kind of feedback with an overview of what happened for the commercial radio all over Europe. And I think you're one of the guys to be basically coordinating those activities from Brussels or Finland. Just a few words before. What about the situation with the radios in Finland?
Well, thank you for asking. I think it has hit us also very hard. The estimations, what is the revenues for the commercial radio is going to be from April to June is varying. It's an approximate minus 50% at least that it will affect. So everybody's, I think, all over the world waiting for a date when this is going to end, because that's the crucial thing now. So that you can build up a future, but that's so uncertain at the moment. So I think we are in the same boat all over the world with the same situation in our radio in Finland too.
Yourself, you have an activity over Europe, but you're also working in Finland. Just for a reminder, what is your daily work?
Yes, I work as the CEO for Radio Media, which is the trade body for commercial radio in Finland. It's the equivalent to Radio Centre in the UK.
Okay.
So we have all the commercial radios as our members, and we are also the radio advertising bureau, but we are also the lobbying organization for commercial radio here in Finland.
Okay. Coming back to Europe, I imagine you are connected with the different national organization or your members all over Europe. AER is present in most of the countries in Europe, or nearly all?
We are present in all of the countries in EU, and we also have Switzerland as a member. So we have some 5,000 radio stations as members of the Association of European Radios. But during this crisis, it's really our active office in Brussels with Marie-Pierre Moalik and Francesca Fabri, who is dealing the day-to-day basis things that is going on, and of course with the help of our Secretary General Matt Payton, also, who is based over in the UK. But of course this has changed our plans, what we were supposed to do during this spring and during this year, because we need to focus on what we can do to help our members across Europe also.
And from your knowledge, what will be the I imagine the situation is quite diverse depending on the countries, even
Yes.
if everybody is in a way touched, but confinement measures are not the same all over the place. And in some places like Italy, Spain, France, or England, let's say the COVID is hitting very hard. Do you have a kind of overview of that situation or feedback from your members or specific testimonies from some of them regarding the situation, and especially this aspect of what is our concern this week, the remote operation of the radio?
Yes, and what we are doing as one of the things that our office in Brussels is doing is, of course, gathering information from the different markets, and what we can see, an average figure that we are using, how the revenues are going down is from 50 to 80%, depending upon the country and in what situation they are. So everybody is suffering from this more or less. I don't think anybody can say that it's going good at the moment. And we, of course, also are sharing best practices, because so different ways of helping from the government point of view and from state aid point of view in different countries. And that has been very helpful for our members to go in and say that, hey, this is the way things has been done in this country. How about you? What are you doing? What is your best practices that you can share and we can learn from? And I think everybody is looking at their governments now, because the government, of course, has had the difficult task to shut down operations, which is kind of a domino effect. When you shut down operations, people don't advertise anymore, and then in somehow you need to compensate the whole chain, what the whole food chain, what is going on, and there we see different levels. I could say that Finland is in a difficult situation, because we don't have a system of aiding the media or helping out the media when it comes to financial aid from before. So that needs to be adapted now, and that takes a little time because it's a political decision. But we are then getting good help from the information that we get from other countries, how things has been done. And having said that, I use a word saying that we think the Danish model is good, when the government is compensating the loss of revenue up to a certain percentage. But that's the way we are dealing. And also our office in Brussels is then dealing with the officials in Brussels, helping them and giving them the information they need, and also having a more ongoing conversation at the moment, exchanging informations and trying to find ways on an EU level what can be done on an evil. Can there be an evil EU funding, or what is the way the institutions or the EU can do to help the commercial radio?
Of course, I think it was in La Lettre Pro newsletter from today that I was looking on it, that was mentioning in the UK, for example, a kind of subsidies offered by the government, especially for the associative radio. I think it was
Yes.
around 400,000 pounds to subsidize some activities, because I think, as you said, and I fully agree, and I think that was certainly one of the big satisfaction over the last days, is this interest to share the experience among the different professionals. And I think this virtual radio week is a good example of it. I mean, people like yourself, like or other hosts, are here very keen to share their best practice. And certainly there will be a second stage after the lockdown to see how to economically overpass the situation, survive it, and come back on the good track. Okay, Philip, maybe you have some questions to ask to Stefan.
Well, Stefan, what do you think in terms of from the feedback you get from all the radio station? It's hard, but did they get something out of it? What is the feeling at the end? Was it also a way to be more creative and to have some ideas that maybe they didn't have before?
Yes, there have been that kind of a feedback, and that's an ongoing process that we need to do to find out what has been done that has got positive feedback and response on different market, and to share that idea. And that's one way to help our members, that hey, this has been done in this country, maybe you can use this or adapt this idea. It's kind of what we've been doing on the commercial side of what kind of creativity you can use. Now we need to have it more broadened out when helping out the whole operations for the commercial radio, what's going on. Of course, we are very worried about the media pluralism also, because now the commercial side is struggling, so we need to help them to keep up the programming, have the programming going on. And I'm very proud of looking at how commercial radio is adapting, broadcasting from home. I used to say that radio is an illusion media. You never know with what technology or from where or with what kind of stuff you broadcast. The only thing that matters is how does it sound. And we see many good ways of keeping up the broadcasting, keeping the listeners happy. And I think radio has a very important role in being, giving trust, also talking about other stuff than just the corona and the crisis, and helping the database working from home, staying at home at this moment.
But what is funny is that in terms of advertising, it's. I mean, no one really went into advertising when people were listening more and more to radio.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
why did advertisers? I mean, maybe
Paradox.
a few of them could react very fast and
Yes.
just went on with creative advertising. But it was the best period to advertise.
Yes, and I know when a crisis come on like this, I think the first reaction is you are not logical. You think that we need to put the brakes because everybody's putting the
Like the
brakes.
market.
Yes, and that's why we're putting the brakes. And then when you take a deep breath and think, well, come to think of it, maybe we should just change the content of our message so that it adapts to the situation, because we really have a service, or we have something to provide to the audience that we need to tell the big audience. And still, like you said, the listenership is even in many markets growing. The time spent listening is growing because people now have more time to listen to radio and want to stay up to date with what's happening, and at the same time get the entertainment. So I think, and I hope, and we're working for it, so that we could go out with the clients with ideas how you could come in and how you could advertise. And please put your money in your local media, help your local radios that are there and have the audience, and don't withhold your advertising money at a time where, for example, your company don't need to do that. Then please go out and spend money on advertising, and that way you also help the media, but you get your message through.
Okay.
Yeah, we had the example of Canada, I think, in that sense, that at least for us in France is a let's say a good mirror, and
Yeah.
sometimes I think their initiative to support local media, and in a way to make it mandatory by law to support them and to advertise on the radio rather than on the big digital five companies should possibly be of an example, possibly to follow in many European countries.
Yes.
Yeah, so we were talking about listeners. It's just to welcome Roman, that is in Russia, in Moscow, and that has a lot of listeners. So what has changed? Stefan, you're welcome to stay with us. Of course, the whole time. We'll just go.
Can I ask a question for Roman?
Sure. Go ahead.
Because you're representing Radio 7, Radio 7 on the Seven Hills, isn't that true? That is called, because I used to work for Metro Media at the time. And Metro Media used to be the owner of Radio 7, so I've been working in the same company where Radio 7 was. Radio 7 was the star of Metro Media at the moment. It did very, very well at the time. So that's nice to see you from over here now. Just, 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 just to share some of the history.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it's nice to connect Finland and Russia through France, through Brive-la-Gaillarde in Corrèze, where we are all home alone. Uh, that's also the fun and the
Let's
power.
let's 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 steal a slogan. You know where it comes from. Radio connecting people.
Connect. Well, that's because we
Okay.
finished that.
Sorry for that, but I had to say it to you.
Yeah. Okay, Roman, we're going more into what happens in Russia and with Radio 7. So Radio 7 is broadcasting in 50 cities. It's focused on foreign stars. 90. I just forgot 40 of them. So 90 cities. What has changed on Radio 7 since the health crisis began in terms of programming? We're here to talk about program also, but what has changed first in terms of human resources and also in programming the station? What has changed?
Possibility to work. It's a mix, it's a combination to work from home, and some people, very important for air, like morning and evening show, they can go to the office, to the studio, and work from radio station as we did it, as they did it before. So in fact, all other stuff work from home as me. Sometimes I attend the studio, but it's not very often. So in fact, we do all music scheduling from home. We do all sound production from home, and only we do in radio station is morning show and evening show. So it's only two guys, because for morning show we have one guy, and for evening show we also have one guy. That's it.
That's it. So how do you work? Which tools are you using? I think you're using a software called Tract, which is a Russian software, and you're also using some programming software.
Yeah, I don't know how Tract, its development company, could marriage DJing its program software with G Selector. I don't know how they did, how they
Okay.
included, but they did. And so we have for scheduling, for making playlists, we use G Selector, and for broadcasting, use DJ In or Gene. It's Tract software.
And you already worked in total remote before. It didn't change technically a lot for you because you already were used to work like that.
So we use a remote desktop, and so all people who work from home or who work at home, they can connect directly to their notes, notebooks, computers, and see all they can see when they attend the office. So it's in fact, it's no big changes for us.
Yeah, not a big changes. So you told me when we prepared the show that it didn't made you don't have a lot of presenters, and it didn't change a lot of presenters, but it changed. The change was more for the journalist.
Yes, they work completely from home. They use so it's not a very. I think it's more easy for them to work from home because they use only notes, the notebooks. I mean, they use microphone, and they use software like SoundForge. They prepared their.
They had to adapt themselves. Also, they had to because they were used to work not really like that. So for them, it was a more change than for the others.
Yes, but they do their news for 3 or 5 minutes before real time, and so they prepare their news and upload it directly into Gin, into our program software,
into your program?
broadcasting software.
Do you think this period now in programming, but mostly for people, even if you're maybe not as much locked down as we are in France, but is this period going to bring some change of how you work in the future? Okay, you're a musical station, so maybe less than a news station, or than a station with a lot of presenters that really are connected to the. But in term of state of mind, do you think it will change something, or do you think everything will just come back as before?
No, everybody knows that it will not come back, and it will not go in further like it was before. I don't know how it will be in the future, but I think we changed our vision with we will do more product for online as we do it now for online sources, because it's a great experience to use our programs we did only for air now to use it on other online sources. So we more focused now on podcasts.
Yeah.
And it's very important for us.
Podcast, you mean native podcast, or it's just or just recordings of your shows that you put
Yes.
on demand?
Yes, it's a recordings of our shows and uploading it into other sources.
And how do you have a lot of interactions with the audience? Are they calling in? Are they do you have those kind of shows also where people are calling?
Morning and evening, yes. We
Morning and
people,
evening. Okay.
yes, yes.
And how did it work during this period for accessing to the listeners? And did it change something? Did you have more listeners wanted to participate?
It's fact the same. I think it's just it's a question of perception. I think it's the same numbers of people, but it's I have some feelings that it's a little change the way how they listening radio.
Yeah,
They
more.
they listen more, and I don't know how to explain, but I feel that they listen it another way.
Okay, so
Another way.
Another way. Yeah, so they're not into the you're not into the advertising and the sales and all that, but as a program director, did you see that the amount of advertising was minus, or was plus, or was almost the same in Russia? How was it?
The answer is the music. It's more and more music now on air. That's the answer. Yes, of course, it's decline. It's less advertising than a month or 2 months ago, and of course, we don't expect that the amount of advertising on air will be increased. But we hope that it will go to normal condition in a month or two. It depends on how global economical situation will be on the country, in our country, and globally in the world.
Okay, so in France, we're going out on the 11th of May. How is it in Russia? That will be my last question, and then we'll interact with Paul Kruger. I mean, you're not locked down, but how do you see it? Do you think it's going to go on for a long time in Russia? Is it like 1, 2, 3 months, or is it coming to the end? How is it regarding the pandemic?
Most of people are waiting for that lockdown will be stopped, but it will be less than the current situation in June.
In June, okay, so
June,
pretty soon. And then when everyone comes back to the studios, will you have to do some arrangements, some changes, or how is it going to be when everyone comes back?
Oh, it's very difficult. It's very difficult to say it this time because
You don't know.
we don't know. Of course, we don't know. We will see. We will see. It's very great experience, and what I know exactly is that some changes will be done in the future globally in our radio station.
Okay, we are going to welcome Paul Kruger in the conversation. Paul, you're in the States. You heard both Stefan and Roman talked about from Finland and from Russia. You're in the United States. Just to make the link between what we just talked now, how is it going in the States regarding this pandemic, and what do you think about what you heard right now?
Well, the one thing I like about what I heard right now is the fact that it confirms what a very smart general manager that I worked for one time said about radio, that there are 999 jobs and 1,000 people to fill them. So it's all one small family. So it's great to see that internationally, too. Um, I think everybody's seen the headlines around the world, what's going on here in the United States, and it looks pretty dire.
Yeah, it's a tricky situation in the States. So
So I'm in Texas, and they have partially reopened the state of Texas. 25% occupancy at restaurants has just went in, I think, last Friday. But I could just say, as a citizen who went out and ran an errand yesterday at about 4:30 in the afternoon, and visited a friend of mine at a nearby radio station here in the market. Where the parking lot was completely empty. I think most sane, rational people are doing the right thing and will continue to do so for some time to come. I think it's going to be a while before radio bounces back. I do think that advertisers will need to get on the radio. For younger stations that rely on concert revenue and things like that to maintain their bottom lines, that may be another year and a half away for them. But, revenues here in the United States, as near as I can tell, if I look at spot loads and pay attention, I hear a lot of radio groups in some of the bigger markets using their commercial breaks to string together maybe 10-second announcements for businesses that may have been open or doing delivery or providing uh, you know uh, services like a grocery store where they may have staples that they're selling out of a restaurant, as opposed to people going to a grocery store. There were a lot of restaurants with a lot of food that were selling it direct to the public and finding ways to help uh, people in need.
yeah,
A lot of information about food banks and things like that. There's a lot of a lot of people going hungry in the United States.
yeah. The situation is maybe stronger than in any other country right now, because we're coming to the end while you're really in the middle of it. So we're sorry to hear of course, and we hope that everything will go better. But let's maybe present yourself to Roman. Roman, I guess you heard about Omnia.
Yes,
Uh,
sure. We work.
Program director.
Yes,
You should have heard about
yes,
Omnia.
yes, yes, sure. It's great.
Paul Krigler is just the US director of Omnia processing sales, and he's in charge of that. And actually, Paul, I discovered your video with the Omnia tour and the van that you have, and you're going around the States. Not now, of course. You did that just before the pandemic. Roman, if you want to stay with us, you're welcome. If you have some other, I'm sure you have a lot to do.
I just want to say, just
Sure.
for finishing, I just want to say thanks for Omnia, because we work with Omnia. I work with Omnia more than 15 years, and this is a great product.
Well, then
Thank you very much.
you
I'll tell Frank Foda you said that.
I love your sound, how it sounds. It's great. Thank you.
uh, Yeah, so that's a good. Well, then Roman, if you want to stay, because Paul is going to talk about some new things about Omnia processing. That new launch, exclusive launch that you were supposed to do at the NAB, and that we're going to talk about tomorrow as well on a webinar with IP Studio, which is the French distributor of Omnia. Omnia is working really a lot into processing, so we're talking about programming today, and it's part of it because a program without a good audio processing is not reaching the people the right way. So, and that's, you work a lot with the program directors, Paul. Just tell us a little about Omnia and your work, and tell us Alliance.
Well, I've been working for TELUS Alliance for coming up on 3 years now as a program director for 20, 25 years. And I still do work in radio. One of the radio groups here employs me part-time on weekends. And I do some part-time programming work for a friend's radio station in a neighboring state. So I still, get to play radio in my spare time on weekends and things like that, aside from working for TELUS Alliance. But this is the best job I've ever had, simply working for TELUS Alliance. I've been a big fan of Omnia and audio processing for quite some time. We have other lines under the TELUS Alliance umbrella. We have the Zip One, which I know there's quite a few customers around the world that use the Zip One to, which is basically the replacement for the veritable TELUS Zephyr. The ISDN box that I think is still alive in some countries, and people are still using it for all I know. On the Omnia side, we have a new product called Omnia 9 PTM, which is virtual audio processing, which can be hosted in the cloud or on your own server. But this could be used as disaster recovery. But the best-selling audio processor we have in our lineup, among them, anyway, in the last couple, 2-3 years, has been the Omnia 9. It's become a very popular option for a lot of customers looking to do FM, HD, multiple HD channels in one rack mount chassis. But it can run on an Amazon web host, and you can stream to it, and you can send the composite from that anywhere in the world. So your radio station could literally, your audio processing could reside wherever you choose, however you choose. That's where we are.
Yeah, so this is a big change. I mean, we radio, and if I see that Roman is still with us, so if Roman, if you want to talk about it, you're welcome to come back to the talk. But studio have changed a lot and are on the way of changing. We see that everything is just turning into the cloud and less hardware. It changed a lot the way of working for you as a hardware manufacturer, because the things are changing, and studios are not looking the same on the front side, but also on the back side. Roman, do you hear us? I was asking you if you thought about the studios that were changing the look of from the studios, less and less hardware in the studios.
It's less or
You know,
just some.
did you
It's a
hear?
problem.
You didn't hear me,
That's a problem.
Paul. Paul,
Mhm.
I can tell you here in the United States that there
Yeah.
are some radio groups going from 24,000 square foot facilities and cutting themselves in half size-wise around the country, trying to save on rent and utilities and things such as that. So,
Yeah,
you
so
know,
I think we have a problem with Roman. He just had some connection problems. No problem. Okay, Paul, we talked a little about the so this cloud-based server. It's called Omnia 9 PTN. That's right.
correct.
So can you just tell us a little more about this product? You sent me a brochure. It's a project, or it's something that is really coming out?
It's something that's been in use for some time. The Omnia 9 its author, Leif Kleisen, developed Breakaway and still sells BA1, which is a software-based audio processor, which was the roots of where the Omnia 9 has come from. It's in use in Canada at a number of radio stations. I think in Europe they're using it. Companies may use it in different configurations where they're generating the composite signal at the transmitter site with an Omnia 9 SG, and they may have just a couple of Omnia 9s or copies of the Omnia 9 PTN software, working at opposite ends of the country for redundancy. And then you've got multiple options now to use such software, and they've found it to be a much easier way for them to streamline their racks at the transmitter sites around the country, and also be have greater uptime, fewer failures.
So we'll hear about more about it tomorrow on the French webinar that IP Studio will make. I just want to play the video that I saw where I discovered you without pants. Well, you had pants, but I mean short pants. I mean. Just to see how you were working before the containment. So we see the video and we just come back for saying goodbye, and then we'll have also the 5 advice before finishing this show. So let's go and see the video of yourself, Paul.
Thanks.
Hey, it's Paul Kruger. I'm the U.S. Director of Sales for the Telos Alliance for radio processing sales, which means Omnia. So I travel the country using this wonderful van that the company's given us with the latest in Axia and Telos and Omnia gear, and you'll get to see it here in a minute, but I get to drive this van around the country and do demos for our customers, and had this van right before the COVID-19 pandemic hit. So the good news is I got to bring a whole lot of work home, which we like about right now. Talking to one of my friends, he says, if you're going to do a demo as if you're at the NAB, and that's the whole idea of this piece, is to do a demo as if we were standing at the NAB to show you what the Omnia rack would have looked like at this year's NAB, which obviously isn't happening this year. And he said, well, a friend of mine said, you've got to get dressed up and pretend like you're at the NAB, which means, suit and tie and name tag. So got myself all dressed up for this special occasion, put on the tie, put on the suit, even got the old Telos Alliance name tag. So let's give you a quick look around the van and see what you got here. If you've never seen the van, I drive the van around the country. If we haven't met, hopefully in the next year and a half, we'll get a chance to meet. So what, like you're wearing pants when you're on all these Zoom calls? Come on, let's take a look. You like the flip-flops? You like the flip-flops? All right, so we got a big old generator in this van to run everything that we got in here. In the back of the van, this is where the magic smoke is. Shh, we don't let the magic smoke out, ever. My favorite part of this van is, let's say you've got a radio station and you wanted to bring this van up next to your transmitter site and run one of our audio processors through your air chain. We could do that. We've got live wire connectivity here. We've got BNC connectors to hook up the composite outputs of our audio processors. We've got speaker outputs, the whole thing here. Plus, we've got shore power. So if you want to run it on shore power for an extended period of time, you could do that. External power here, but the magic is actually up here inside. So this is my absolute favorite toy to take on the road and do audio processing demos, as you might imagine, as a nerd, as a self-professed techie and radio geek. This is my playground. A couple computers here to run the remote control software. We've got the Omnia 11 remote control running on the right-hand computer here, Playout PC2. Playout PC1's running the Windows Media Player interface. I'm just playing WAV files, but somewhere around here I've got a copy of Zenith that I could play out in the van and automate things. Power station main control here, running the Fusion up above. You can see the Fusion's monitor here for the metering. Pathfinder Core Pro to help run things in the VX Prime system. With this phone up here on the left hand side, don't know if you can see that, it's kind of dark. And you see the phone? I can place a phone call from there to there. Fusion has the call controller built into it. IQ console here on the left, Core is down below. And this is the rack at the back of the van. Now, if this was the rack at NAB 2020 and I was here doing the demo, I'm going to go top to bottom. What was the top item in the rack down to what would have been the very bottom item in the rack. And the very top rack, just above eye level, would have been the TVC15. So if you take a close look up here at the TVC15, you're going to see a number there at the top. It says that if this unit was controlling a Voltaire on the same network, based on how much watermark this TVC15 is seeing, it would change your watermark enhancement to this level in the Voltaire, because not all audio is really created equal in Nielsen's eCBET encoding world, and the TVC15 lets you see your watermark in real time. So a couple of my favorite features here in the van are, one, down here, transmitter. And then over here in the second rack, we got this composite switch. And this way I can switch between all the processors in the rack, really get a better feel for all the processing firepower here in the van. Next up in the rack at NAB would have been up here the Omnia 11. So last year we had a new free software update, 3.6.22. It made some improvements to the final clipper. Some things that I love about the Omnia 11, it sounds superior on FM and HD. The census codec in the HD section makes it sound phenomenal. The 11 overall, it's kind of famous for having a big open, huge sound, and the new clipper helps even more so. There's an optional declipper in the Omnia 11. The stereo enhancement in the 11 is some of the best I've ever heard. And you know, the blue interface, it's very calming. Next on the rack would have been the Omnia 9. We've got new software updates, which improves the clipper and adds support for the micro MPX codec, which means, yes, your Omnia 9 could be part of an STL end-to-end system for your radio station. What I like about the 9, it's got a very clean sound, an adjustable number of bands. So if you wanted it to be a 3 or a 4 band for a talk station or a 7 band for a top 40 format, it can do that. It's incredibly flexible. It can do FM, HD1, HD2, HD3, streaming, dynamic RDS, all at the same time. It slices, it dices. And it can even be an encoder to drive an MPX node at your transmitter, like I said earlier. So on the back, lots of I/O, and all new units since 2018 have come with live wire support, standard. So the sky is the limit here as far as the amount of inputs and outputs you want to put into the Omnia 9. And then you've got the NF remote interface, which it's a much better way to navigate the unit and make presets for it using the back end. Declipper and undo are also included on every Omnia 9. Now the Volt, the big announcement for NAB 2020 would have been Volt 2.0, which is here with a bunch of brand new starting preset points for various formats. Whole bunch of them are in their country. Top 40, there's a Top 40 Bright preset. Hot AC, Urban. More AM presets have been added to the AM version, and there's also SNMP support. What I like about this new version of the Volt, I like a lot of the new presets. It should make your experience with the Volt a lot simpler off the get-go with the new format starting points. And I think it sounds cleaner. You know, you're always a 10-minute free update away with the Volt from going from, say, an FM version to an AM version. And let's say you need a quick processor for headphone feeds, for like jock feeds. The HD version's great for that. And then for the Volt, you've got this HTML5 interface, which makes getting into the deeper adjustments on the Volt a lot easier. Over here back in the first rack is the Omnia 9SG. This would have been the next item down below the Volt. The 9SG takes the final composite generator from the Omnia 9 and sticks it in this one rack unit standalone box. Now, what I love about it, it's an extremely clean, precise stereo generator and composite clipper too.
So, Paul, we just saw the video and this van, and I mean, this is the dream for a radio station or for technicians to have a van like that.
Oh, it's my playground. It's a beautiful playground to have. And so I remember when I was a program director of a radio group in 2014, when that van came around to where I was working at the time. Initially, they had a couple of college kids here in the U.S. drive that van around and do demos for folks. I think they had some interest in the broadcast industry, and now, you know, flash forward 6 years later, I'm working for that company, and I get to drive that van around, and it happens to be parked here outside my place during the pandemic, so I've been busy. I put a Quasar console in it the other day, our latest console, which is just this beautiful, colorful console that we just came out with this year. I put the MPX node in. I've got different processors feeding composite to it, just kind of digging into the other stuff that our company sells, because I'm not really the console guy, as it were, but I'm becoming more the console guy. That's for sure.
So the console guy, we're going to talk. We actually is going to be right at 3:00. We planned a video with Kirk Harnack that is the console guy and that will make an interview of Paul Montaya, and he's making a lot of videos, and I contacted him on LinkedIn, and he told me that we could use and play this video. He's interviewing some people that are working remotely home. So that's you were talking about him, right? The console guy. Kirk Harnack. So you can just look at the videos of Kirk Harnack on YouTube, or you can just stay with us in 4 minutes. It will be just on air on ConnectOnAir.com. Well, Paul, really thank you very much for participating to this day. Even if you're not really inside of remote programming, we're very happy to have you on the show, to have a point on the situation, of course, in the United States, and we stay in touch. Of course, maybe if you have the chance to travel again in 2021, end of January, we have the European radio show. It's a change, maybe to be the first traveling again in shows, and if we have the chance to have you, we will be we'll be very happy to have you in a conference to talk about Omnia processing, because we're turning the show more and more international, and this is something that is really important for us. So if you feel like coming, and if you're and if all is fine and everyone is okay in the States and in the world, we'll be very happy to welcome you to the European Radio Show.
I would love that. Thank you so much.
And we love the tour. We initiated last year also our own tour in France. We were obliged to stop it at the time being due to the situation, but we really enjoyed last year to go and visit the radio in their place and to talk proximity with them, together with them. So I think you're a very lucky guy with a very nice toy on wheel. So I get the feeling.
Okay, so now we're going to listen to the 5 advice of how to work and program in remote from José Loureiro, which is from Grupo ERCOM, Renascença Comunicação Multimédia in Portugal. And he just gave us 5 advice, which are very interesting, and he made a fun way this small video. So he will be with us in a few seconds. I just thank you again, Paul. See you very soon, and stay safe, stay home, and good luck for the rest of the year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul.
Virtual Radio Week. Total Remote. Best practices for operating a radio or podcast remotely. A week dedicated to total remote radio.
Hello, I'm very grateful to have the chance to share with you my experience on keeping 3 radios running from home for more than 50 days now. In Portugal, the first case of COVID-19 was registered on the 2nd of March. By the end of that week, we had the first meeting to discuss how we would keep our radios running if, for any reason, we had to work from home or eventually totally abandon the premises. We created a beautiful 3-stage plan that would follow the country situation or the eventual existence of a case among us. The plan was ruined the moment that the cases in Portugal started to grow and the situation in Spain and Italy got really worse. The top manager calls me on a Sunday saying, please make all the efforts to put everyone working at home as soon as possible. So I panicked. But quickly I remembered that I had some very good friends. Today, I'll introduce you what I believe are your 5 best friends in this situation that will make the difference when programming radio from home. And I hope it can help you in the future jumping the panic moment. Being at home, I will use some family props. Say hello to V, the VPN Secure Remote Access. You need a VPN and you need it strong. We've been using VPN for a long time, as I'm sure the most of you too, for some technical staff, managers, hair talent on special outdoor events. The thing is, your VPN will rise from a few simultaneous users to 50 or 60, and you can't afford it to fail. Everything else will be dependent of a VPN. Well, unless you went total cloud, which is not common yet. So make sure that your VPN is right, is the VPN you need, and you have the right support. We had it, and it made all the difference. Meet Z, the scheduling and playout system. The system you have will make all the difference on your agility, scheduling, voice tracking, adding audio, or going live from home. Do you have a radio software that has built-in remote capabilities, or you rely on some kind of remote access to the studio machine? We use G-Selector and Zeta, which have Selector to Go and Zeta to Go. HTTP-based remote solution working over the file server that allows you to work anywhere with the same features and comfort that you do at the station. Anyone with a VPN connection from the PD to the DJ voice tracking could do his work from home easy. We had some moments when we had around 20 simultaneous users working on Zeta. So make sure you have, or you look for, a suite of scheduling and playout system that really integrates remote operation. Let me introduce you C now. C is the collaborative tool. Nowadays you have a million of communication collaborative tools used. WhatsApp, Zoom, Google Docs, Teams, etc. It is great, but it can get messy. We felt that it was important to focus on one, and that took some days to implement under pressure. So, in times like this, you don't want to end up with questions like, you sent it to me? Where? On WhatsApp, on Teams, by email? No. Choose one platform to be used by the corporation and use it regularly so that it comes out naturally when you really have to work at distance. Say hi to R. The remote assistant tool. Your technical staff are used to have most part of your team in the building. Suddenly, you have 30 buildings to support. It is essential that you are prepared with remote assistance capabilities to support each user at his house. Not only software, but also on some hardware you might install. We, for example, were using some IATA IP codecs for the live transmissions, and we updated the equipment to take advantage of IATA cloud-based remote access. In some other equipments, we didn't have that option, and it was a lot harder. Finally, but not less important, meet L, the link with the listener. I confess that this was, for me, our biggest fail. We have a traditional telephonic system without remote access of any type, and the radios still rely on it for various interaction with the listener, like for contests, for example. We set up the home studios, we kept the radios running, but we had to suspend the contests and reduce the interaction with listeners when they needed more. Obviously, in the meantime, we managed some workarounds, but it was not the same thing. We will work in the future with our suppliers and our telco to consider new solutions, with some kind of soft phones or maybe cloud-based telephony, I don't know, but we need to be better prepared. If I can share something with you today is that there is no reason to panic. You just need to have your best friends around. As in life, make friends now, knowing that they will be there when you need them. Make sure your station has the best friends it needs to be prepared to a situation like this one. Thank you for your attention. I would love to know what was most relevant to you on my testimony, and feel free to share your experiences too. Thank you so much. Enjoy the show.
Virtual Radio Week. Total Remote.
But I wanted to thank a lot Jose, because I found his 5 advices very well prepared and very funny as well. So thank you, Jose, to work around this, and I think we will also give this video a new life on the social networks. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, so we're talking just about the program of tomorrow,
Yeah.
so that we just
Few words.
a small focus tomorrow at 2 p.m. We'll start again in English. So in the morning, if you're talking French, in the morning we'll have a debate. So we're on remote broadcasting, and we'll have a debate in the morning in French, and then some IP Studio Telos Alliance webinar in French with total virtualization. It's a world exclusive presentation of the Axia IQVS and the Omnia 9 PTN that we talked today. And then we'll have the interactive webinar of RCS from home studio to full cloud broadcasting, where you can interact. So please register to this webinar if you speak French. Well, because it won't be in English, this one. And then at 2 we start in English, Nicolas.
Yeah, and This debate tomorrow is around remote broadcasting, and so this is interesting to have people like the BBC World Service to testimony, very large network, very large operation all over the world, and the specialist of distribution will make the point. We'll have also the guy from Italy, still in the middle of the storm, Eugenio Lateana from RTL 102.5, which is also interesting because they have a strong activity in visual radio, which also put on the table other challenges. I think they need to be in the studio. They cannot record their show from home, and also they need to be on many different platforms. So there are other topics to cover that are interesting. And a wrap up with Gary Klein from the US perspective, also very interesting. Of course, the US, it's a very large country, so they work natively nearly from remote. They have a lot of telecontrol over the transmitters, and this guy has a very interesting background, caring about technical facilities all over the States with Cumulus, and he will give us also his 5 advice. And this will be before the webinars, Philippe.
Yeah, the webinar of Worldcast that started at 2:30. So actually, it's possible that we won't be finished with the debate, but the webinar will start anyway at 2:30, catering to the needs of the radio industry, with Worldcast talking about 3 new solutions to bring quality, control, and cost savings to remote operations. Worldcast that have announced a lot of things for this containment and to help the radio stations.
And with specific offers as well. So I think don't miss that webinar, but as far as I know, you will benefit from specific offers right inside the webinar.
Yeah, that's correct. And then we'll be with Patrick Hannon to talk about DAB Plus rollout in Europe. We have a status update of the what happens in Europe. It's DAB Plus is developing a lot and in many countries. So and we are going to talk more about also in-car DAB Plus and the the EECC deadline of the 21st December 2020 that is still on and it's not postponed. And then we'll have the Broadcast Audio Fanatics NAB Omnia Audio Processing Tour with Paul Kruger, the video that we will broadcast again. And we finish with a webinar where we will join On Hertz, a Belgium company.
We used to have them at the Paris radio show when they launched that product a few years ago. We are quite impressed on how they were able to offer tools, I would say, that are virtual radio station to be in a glance to offer a solution to pop-up radio. And I think during that particular period, big companies like VRTs or TBF are now giving a lot of use of those solutions, especially the ones of On Hertz, and we will join their webinar to learn more about their product, their solution.
Yeah, exactly, and it's a virtualized course for broadcasters by broadcasters. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you very much, Nicolas, for this great program and all the work that has been put up for this day. It's still one day to go. Tomorrow we'll be together in French from 9 a.m. If you want to join, you're welcome. And if you, of course, don't speak French, we'll meet you at 2 p.m. tomorrow. Thank you very much. And maybe we'll go with a little jingle before we go back to the playlist of ConnectOnAir.com, where we rebroadcast a lot of nice content from those 2 days that have been that we passed together. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye, and keep safe. Bye-bye.
Yeah, keep safe. Have a nice day. Bye.
Virtual Radio Week. Total Remote. Best practices for operating a radio or podcast remotely. A week dedicated to total remote radio.